results. The Thunder will part ways with Anthony. They can do so in a variety of ways. Woj will be here to talk about that later. If it's done in an optimal fashion, again, a $100 million savings. He will be in demand when available, despite what you're about to see here. I guess not all guys have been in the league 15 years can look like LeBron. Here we go by the numbers on Anthony's first season in OKC. I guess that's his first and only. Never really known for his defense, really struggled. Defensive efficiency really struggled when Melo was out there. Again, never been known on that side of the ball. Paul George, Russell Westbrook, well, they rendered Anthony basically a spot-up shooter. Melo was cold most of the year, career low 40% from the floor, from option 1 to option 3. That translated into clutch time, which we define as the last 5 minutes of the game, and the score within 5 points. Anthony shot 29% in those situations, one of the worst in the NBA. This move makes common sense and dollars and cents. The Thunder were on the books for a ridiculous $310 million in salary and luxury tax after signing PG-13 and Jeremy Grant. But if they stretch out Anthony's contract, essentially pay it off over a longer amount of time, they could save almost 1/3 of that and get that $300 million payroll trimmed by $100 million. That is one of 2 big stories of the day in the NBA, and the perfect place to start with our Stephen A. Smith out in Las Vegas. You just saw him on First Take Summer League in earnest out in Vegas today. You tell me, Stephen A., what team would be the best fit for Carmelo right now?
Well, me personally, my preference would be LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers, because I think that, and I've been aching for years for Carmelo Anthony to be paired with LeBron James. We all know that LeBron James is the best player in the world and he plays the right way and what have you, whereas Carmelo Anthony is just a scorer extraordinaire. He certainly didn't resemble that in OKC this past year, where he only averaged about 16 points, shot 40% from the field. This is a career 24-point-per-game scorer. So obviously it was a downslide back then, but he was playing out of position. He was playing in a new system. He had to adjust with playing with Russell Westbrook and Paul George, with a coach like Billy Donovan, who's still trying to figure some things out himself. So that definitely was challenging. But when I think about Carmelo Anthony, who was drafted in the same draft as LeBron James, this is one of the prolific scorers the game has ever seen, that has been bounced out in the first round 9 times, has missed the postseason 4 times, has been to the Eastern Conference, to a conference semifinals twice in his career, a conference finals 1 time, and has never played in an NBA finals. So I think the priority should be about doing whatever it takes to get yourself to an NBA finals, and I think playing with LeBron helps. Houston, you could certainly make the argument if LA is 1, Houston is 1A, because you're playing with your man Chris Paul, with James Harden, and you're helping to offset the loss of Trevor Ariza. But we all know that LeBron James is just on a surreal level, and for Carmelo to be with him, I would say that should be choice number 1, although I suspect it will be Houston.
What a pairing that would mean. Of course, Carmelo does have some significant business interests of himself in Los Angeles off the court. Now, Stephen A., as we mentioned at the top of the show, seemingly the beginning of an end of an era for the Spurs. As Matt Barry said, Tony Parker, after 17 seasons, gone. Parker basically talking about Kawhi Leonard here. A few months ago, he had burned Leonard because of his injury, telling our Mark Spears, quote, "I have no problem with Kawhi Leonard. We never had an argument. When the journalist asked me if my injury was worse than Kawhi's, I said yes, because it was true. But that didn't lessen the significance of the injury. He took over the franchise, and I gave up the torch of the franchise willingly. It's very sad that the media took one quote and made it sound like I didn't want to play with him. He was the face of the franchise." For those of you that do not recall, this was when Parker said his injury was 100 times worse than Kawhi Leonard. So, Stephen A., after knowing that and listening to what Parker just told our Mark Spears, what does that say to you about the big picture as it relates to the Spurs and Kawhi Leonard?
Well, first of all, the era is over. The era of the San Antonio Spurs as we knew it, where they were the gold standard, just aching for a championship year after year in the championship picture. That's no longer the case, because we recognize that collectively, in terms of talent, they simply don't have what it takes. That's number 1. Number 2, it's Tony Parker engaging in revisionist history. The media is not to blame for this. They took the quote, and yes, they said it that way. They quoted him. But in the same breath, I don't recall anybody saying that Tony Parker did not want to play with Kawhi Leonard. As a matter of fact, I heard it in reverse. When there was a team meeting and Tony Parker led the pack in confronting Kawhi Leonard to ask him about his injury, it seemed to be them saying, we want you and we need you. What's up? Why are you not on the court with us? We heard Steven Jackson, a former champion with the San Antonio Spurs under Greg Popovich, elocute that there's no way that Parker and the players would have approached Kawhi Leonard that way had it not been with the permission and the blessing of a Greg Popovich. So all of this stuff about the media, I mean, I think that's just the easy way out for Tony Parker as far as I'm concerned. Nobody has accused him of not wanting Kawhi Leonard. As a matter of fact, it was the opposite. You desperately wanted Kawhi Leonard. He wasn't there, and there were people on the Spurs evidently questioning the legitimacy of the severity of Kawhi Leonard's injury. And to this day, to my understanding, that is something Kawhi Leonard is still salty about. It isn't the number one reason he wants to leave San Antonio. He's just not happy there. He wants to go home, but that certainly ruffled his feathers a little bit and left him a bit agitated, to say the least. That is not a media creation. That is Kawhi Leonard and how his camp has conveyed his feelings to various members of the media out there, and maybe Tony Parker should talk to them instead of talking about the media.
No question. Well said. The Spurs are coming off their lowest win total in nearly 2 decades, and right now, with Stephen A. saying it's the end of an era, looks like that might be continuing at least through next spring. Thanks. Los Angeles is nearly 4 million people. And even if you're not a Lakers fan, you do understand the mystique. I mean, even Clipper Darrell, the most ride-or-die Clipper fan on earth, welcomed the king to town in purple and gold. But as LeBron James desperately searches to complete the legacy of a lifetime, our own Keith Olbermann is desperate to find something else, a native Angelino that happens to be on the sports scene in SoCal.
As the old joke went among us honorary native Angelinos, nobody's from L.A. The Lakers importing LeBron is just the continuation of a tradition older than the NBA itself. Kareem, Shaq, Wilt, Kobe, Mikan, even Magic, even the franchise itself, all got to L.A. by free agency, or by trading players, or by trading draft choices, or by trading cities. Heck, the Lakers themselves are from out of town. They moved from Minneapolis, in the land of 10,000 lakes, and they only got George Mikan, the original big man, because another franchise went bankrupt. 5 titles later, Mikan retired, and the Lakers utterly collapsed. They had the first draft choice in 1958 and took Elgin Baylor, and the number 2 in 1960, and they took Jerry West. And those are literally the only 2 Laker immortals who never, at least on paper, belonged to any other team. But West and Baylor lost the NBA Finals in 5 of the first 8 years in LA, and new owner Jack Kent Cooke decided he needed the modern Mikan.
He fires to Wilt, and Chamberlain dunks it.
Angry at Sixers management, flirting with jumping to the new rival ABA, Wilt Chamberlain was a risky trade proposition. Cooke took the risk. Wilt actually did leave for the ABA. 5 years, 4 Western Conference titles, and 1 NBA crown later. And the Lakers then again sank like a stone. After finishing last in the West in '75, owner Cooke did it again. Now he got the modern Wilt.
Abdul-Jabbar gets it in there.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar cost L.A. 4 former first-rounders led by Junior Bridgman. With Kareem and Magic, they won 5 championships. But Magic wasn't really theirs either. They got him indirectly through free agency. When the Lakers let Gail Goodrich go to the Jazz, they were awarded 4 draft choices, including a number 1 in 1979. In those days, the worst 2 teams flipped a coin to decide who drafted first. That coin flip was won by Laker assistant GM Chick Hearn, the Chick Hearn. So Magic went to L.A. and not Chicago.
Magic down the middle, just what I thought. A hook shot at 12. Good!
From Mikan to Magic to King James, this has just never stopped. James Worthy only got to L.A. by a traded draft pick and a coin flip, or he would have been a San Diego Clipper. In '96, the Charlotte Hornets picked Kobe, then traded him to the Lakers straight up for Vlade Divac. 3 weeks later, owner Jerry Buss went out at the modern Kareem, signing Shaq for 7 years and $120 million.
Can you dig it?
Pau Gasol, got him in a trade. Lamar Odom, trade. Luke Walton, now the coach. They got him 16 years ago as a future draft choice in a trade. Of course they have gone and gotten LeBron, the modern Shaq, who was himself the modern Kareem, who was the modern Wilt, who was the modern Mikan. Of course they brought LeBron to L.A.
If he wins a couple of chips, put it this way, if he gets a couple of those, they'll be putting a statue out in Staples Center for him, that's for sure.
L.A., where they brought the Dodgers from Brooklyn, where the NFL teams were brought in from Cleveland and Oakland and St. Louis and San Diego, where even the Clippers are originally from Buffalo. And now LeBron will be as much of a native Angelino as the palm trees. You do know they brought the palm trees in from out of town, right? And they brought the river to water the palm trees in from out of town. Because like the old joke used to go, nobody's from L.A.
LeBron isn't either, but he is the latest transplant, the latest all-time great to take his talents there. This is why they've won 16 titles. When he suits up and scores, 6 of the top 8 scorers in the history of the league, would have worn purple and gold. And that list, of course, includes Kareem, Kobe, and Shaq, just to name a few. You know, Stephen A. earlier told us, bridging together LeBron and Carmelo, he'd love to see Melo in Los Angeles. When he was traded to the Thunder last September, he was supposed to be the final piece of the OK3, but obviously clearly did not work out that way. They are parting ways. The NBA's best insider made that evident earlier today on SportsCenter, and he joins us on this Friday night. Adrian, bottom line, take me through the options about how OKC and Carmelo could separate and perhaps save the franchise $100 million.
Well, the way to save that, it would be $107 million of salary and luxury tax to utilize the stretch and waive provision, which essentially eliminates him off the cap. They spread his money over 3 years, but it saves them almost $90 million in luxury tax. So they can do that. They're going to first try to trade him. They're going to find a team that might be trying to clear a lot of space next year. He's got almost a $29 million expiring contract that, if is cobbled together with a trade for a team, it might be a big chunk that they can use to get off when the summertime comes. That's going to be a harder way to go. But one way or another, he has played his final game in Oklahoma City, and he and his agent are going to work with the Thunder on figuring out how that separation will come, and then he'll be on the market.
Yeah, and you did say in your reporting earlier today that he will be in demand, if no other reason than the dangling carrot, the humongous expiring contract. One other guy that's had plenty of huge contracts is Dwight Howard. Buyout with the Nets complete after the trade from the Hornets. He's now set to sign a 2-year deal with the Wizards. So take me inside the risk-reward here for Washington.
A little bit surprising in Washington that he got the player option on the second year, which means he has a choice of whether he opts in. It's at $5+ million a year. But tremendous opportunity for Dwight to go to a playoff team and show right now again that not only can he be effective, but that he can fit into an environment, that he can be a positive force in a locker room with a team. There's a big hole in the middle in Washington after the Marcin Gortat trade to the Clippers. They need a center.
No question about it. There was a time where if Dwight Howard signed a deal, the NBA would stop. It shows you how different the league is just a few years later. Adrian, thank you.
Thanks, Zubin.
Guys, thanks. End of an era in San Antonio. As reported earlier, Tony Parker agreed to a 2-year, $10 million deal with Charlotte, bringing an end to his 17 seasons in San Antonio, which resulted in 4 championships for the Spurs. Our agent, Wojnarowski, on that earlier. And earlier today, Parker's longtime head coach, Greg Popovich, released a statement saying, quote, "It's difficult to put into words how important Tony Parker has been to the Spurs franchise over the past 2 decades. From his first game in 2001 at age 19, TP has impressed and inspired us day after day, game after game, season after season with his passion, dedication, and desire. We are grateful to Tony for 17 years of truly amazing memories. While the 4 championships, 6 All-Star appearances, and 4 All-NBA selections highlights his resume, the biggest joy for me has been to have the pleasure of watching TP grow up before our eyes. All of us in the Spurs organization will miss having Tony in our program and wish him and his family
the best as he continues his remarkable career in Charlotte. Summer League action, 6th overall pick, Mo Bamba. And the Magic taking on the Nets, second quarter. Bamba, he's got that shot. Mid-range jumper in defender's face. Bamba's first professional point. Later, in transition, gets the pass from Rodney Purvis, puts in the lane. Right now, Bamba 4 points, 3 rebounds, 42-34 at the half. If you want to see some of the stars in Summer League, the up-and-coming rookie stars, we've got a triple header that's coming up next. Celtics, Sixers, Mavs, Suns, Clippers, Warriors, all games streaming live on the ESPN app, so you can watch them anywhere. Man, watching them in person, our coach in College Game Day, Seth Greenberg. He is live and on hand in Vegas tonight for Summer League action. And Coach Grayson Allen, up to Grayson Allen tricks last night, getting tangled up with fellow rookie Trae Young. How will Allen's chippiness play at the NBA level?
That was absolutely nothing. That wasn't a trick. Here's the deal. Grayson Allen had his hands above the ball defensively, and what Trae Young did was what most NBA guys do. They attack your hands, shoot up through your hands to get the foul. They got caught up. Grayson Allen overreacted a little bit, not really much. Trae Young overreacted. It was a typical basketball fight. Two guys going in different directions. It was a lot about nothing. We wouldn't be talking about this if it was anyone else. Put it to rest. Look, both of those guys are trying to get a better understanding of how to be successful at the NBA level. That was absolutely nothing.
And Grayson Allen's going to have to learn, because of his history at Duke, that people aren't going to be watching him perhaps under a sharper microscope when it comes to things like this. As for Trae Young,
it was 2 rookies, Matt. 2 rookies. Come on.
Look, we're under time constraints. I got one more question I got to ask you. I want to ask you about Trae Young struggling. Why is he struggling early on?
Yeah, Trae Young here, he's got to learn where his shot's going to come from. He's got to understand what a good shot and what a good shot is. And he was a volume shooter in college. He can't be a volume shooter in the NBA. He's got to improve on his floater. He's not going to take it into people. Personally, I think he should start by facilitating first, making plays for others, and then look for himself. That logo range has got to go out the door. Those are bad shots. What he's got to do is let the game come to him. But remember now, he's going to play against bigger, longer, more athletic players every single night. So there's going to be a transition. Is he a surefire, can't miss? No, he's not. 6'1" at the most, physically not strong enough right now. He has a gift. His gift is his ability to see plays. He's got to play through that gift first and then look for his shot.
Coach is fired up, must have taken a hit at the blackjack table. Go yell at the dealer, not me. Enjoy the Summer League ball, Coach.
What was that, Matty?